Hi, and welcome back to another Evolve to Win show. I'm Heather, and instead of Paul today, we have Adam Judish with us. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Heather. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for being with us today. So we've asked Adam to be on this show in part in response to some unbelievably great feedback from a recent episode we did where we shared the process that we went through in creating our online program called Win the Quarter. But let me tell you a little bit about Adam and how he's connected with that whole process. Adam is the founder of Converting Funnel. And we found Adam through a mutual client and brought him in to really help us design and develop the step-by-step process and handle all the technology back end for our online program. Now, what's fun about Adam, he shared with me that he dropped out of college 3 times, had 16 jobs before the age of even 20, and numerous other failed attempts at figuring out what he was created to do. And I, for one, am so grateful that he has figured out what he was created to do, which is really marketing and specifically online marketing. And he really figured that out shortly after getting his real estate license. So I look forward to diving into that a little bit. But what Adam does is he helps take his clients' businesses, he takes their existing knowledge and their expertise and helps them bring it into the world and turn their expertise into profitable programs that sell online. So super fun to have you with us. Adam, you live in Arizona with your wife and 4 children. Am I right about that?
You are correct.
So I don't know how you do it with 4 children that you're raising, home office in your business, supporting all these clients, getting all these messages out there to the world. But we appreciate you. We're super excited to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you don't hear, two of my younger daughters are here. This is the home office, so hopefully you don't hear them screaming in the background.
Well, we will absolutely we will welcome any noise interruptions from them because we know it's amazing that you are able to not only raise a family, but run your business and do it out of your home office. So no worries there. So Adam, you and I got connected, and Paul, we all got connected through another mutual client that we have, and you're doing some work with them and their online programs. But can you just walk us through a little bit how you got into this particular niche in this market?
Yeah, definitely. And so, as you said, I had numerous attempts at several things that I just didn't progress with. And looking back at it, I'm grateful for all those things that just didn't pan out the way that I originally had hoped for. But at the time, living in Colorado, I decided to get the real estate license and got the license. Quickly learned that you had to learn how to market yourself because I was in an office with, I think, 280 other agents, and that was under just one real estate company. And so
Wow.
I knew that obviously, everybody is out there listing houses, selling houses. So I have to be different. I have to learn how to market myself and use, social media and other things to be out there to expand my network and get more business. And so that was kind of the initial interest with learning marketing and learning more about social media and just different areas like that. And so I think it was just a fascination with how things worked and just the ability to automate things and all the technology behind it. I've found that I'm kind of a person that likes to take things apart and put them back together. So a lot of the technology stuff that people don't like learning and don't enjoy learning, for some reason I thrive in that area. And so I learned marketing was going to be a key skill that I needed to learn. And through that process, I kind of shifted the focus to more of selling online and specifically using funnels and automated systems and things like that. And so it was through that process that I eventually transitioned to work with people that are either having a client-based business or they have a program like a course and they're looking to sell more of it. And so that was kind of a need that I found in the marketplace that I just wanted to really dive into and learn more about.
Yeah, so that's definitely one of the things that we've found by working with you is that you're really keeping up with the technologies that are out there and the different types of technologies as it comes to online anything, whether it's the marketing site and the funnels all the way through to the online hosting platform for membership sites and so on and so forth. And I got to say that a lot of our listeners are in the professional services space, right? So speakers, coaches, trainers, authors, experts, But we also have a lot of other clients and listeners who are servicing their clients in financial services or real estate, as you mentioned, lots and lots of real estate professionals. The content that I think you can talk about, and maybe some tips and tricks that you might be able to share of what you've learned, would be so helpful, because I think that many of us, and I'll be the first to raise my hand here, I get really stopped by technology, and in part because it's moving so fast that I'm not sure what is the right technology and how do you use it. And I allowed that to hold me back for a long time in creating this online course, until I finally gave up the struggle, realized that I was not going to become the expert myself. Quite frankly, it's not my space. I'm not good at it. And I know to build my team with people who are really good at the stuff that I'm not good at, right? Which is why we ended up finding you and investing in your services. But let's just say for the person who's out there right now, who's maybe a real estate agent, a financial advisor, an attorney, a CPA, somebody who's in the space of providing a financial service to a client, do you have some ideas for them around online marketing that you think are a good starting point to help them really increase their exposure for their brands?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that you can look at is, what makes business more enjoyable is working with the people that you want to work with. And so what I find with a lot of service providers is they are willing to take on anybody and everybody. And they're at a point where they're not really defined on who is their market, what people refer to as their avatar or their target market. And so that is the foundation of everything that you're doing in terms of marketing, especially in the online aspect, is identifying who is the person I want to work with and who is the person that is not a good fit for me, my personality, and maybe just their scenario with the services I can provide. So I think
you know what, I want to stop you there for just one moment. I'm sorry to interrupt. I want to help get clarity on this whole concept of avatar, because I remember the first time I worked with somebody in the online marketing world and they asked me who my avatar was. The only thing that I could think of was that movie with those blue people, Avatar, I think was the name of it, wasn't it? Yep. And which was a really cool movie, but I could not wrap my mind around this concept. And it took me a while to really just identify that I think what they were asking me was to identify my ideal target market, like as an individual. Is that right? Like, describe just a little bit what this concept is of avatar, if you would.
Yeah, definitely. And it's exactly, as you said, it's getting clear on one specific person. So a lot of times the easiest way to do that is to look at your current client base and figure out, is there a Susie or a Mark or a John that if I had more of these people, like my business would be awesome. So figure out first if that's somebody you're currently already working with. And then from there, you can kind of peel back the layers and kind of figure out the different characteristics and what makes that person enjoyable to work with and what makes them a perfect person for you. So first step would be to take that person. And then the second step is to kind of figure out what is it that you enjoy about them specifically, or their scenario that you want to apply to other people that you want to bring in to work with you. And so a lot of times it's just kind of figuring out, like, when they came to you, what was their problem? Was it a problem that you could easily have a solution for, or that you could easily get a quick win for? Or is it somebody that you enjoyed, maybe a more complex problem? You specialize in an area that you understand that market better than anybody else, maybe because you were that person at one point, or you just have so much experience. So let's take, for example, like a real estate agent. So many people don't really have a market that they want to serve, and they're willing to take on anybody. Well, if you were to just narrow down to even like a basic, to say, I only work with high-end listings, like that right there is a market. But if you want to get more specific, then you dive deeper into that specific market. So is it a 30 to 35-year-old? Is it male, female, married? They have kids? What is it that they are looking for when it comes to like a higher end listing? And so it's just asking yourself those questions to get clarity on who you want to market to. And that ultimately kind of like makes up who your avatar is. It's kind of figuring out some of the characteristics and then getting clear on what problems or challenges they have, and ultimately what's their desire. What is it that they want to accomplish or achieve that is congruent with what the services that you provide.
So that was a really great description of the avatar. And you gave some great questions, like qualifying questions to help people kind of whittle away and get down to who is that ideal client of yours. I know that one of the areas of pushback that I get all the time, in fact, I've faced it myself, is that I don't want to limit myself, because if I look at my existing client base, I have people from all different industries and all different ages and all different races, and male, female, doesn't matter. And so people get really, really stuck in this, maybe it's a scarcity mindset of, I don't want to narrow it down, because what if there's all these other people that I would be missing out on working with and servicing if I got so narrowly focused. So help them to get their mind around why this doesn't limit them, but actually expands their potential.
Yeah. So in that area, like, you have to look at what's known as like segments of your market. So we're going to use real estate again as an example. Within the real estate market, there are segments of the market. There are first-time buyers. There are married couples. There are people maybe that just experienced a divorce. Like, they have different things that ultimately, yes, they're looking to sell a house or maybe buy a house, but there are different segments that have different problems. And so, like, the way to look at it, first of all, is like, if you take a look at like an aspirin, they have aspirins out there that are marketed with, this is a generic aspirin. This is an aspirin for children. This is an aspirin for over 65-year-olds. This is an aspirin for 65 plus with a back pain. So like, they get very segmented with how they are marketing that product. And so if you're looking at it from the end user perspective, and they want to find somebody that speaks better to them than anybody else, like, the more specific you can get, the more they're going to realize that this is the person I should be working with versus the 50 other real estate agents that they see on this website. And so in the beginning, it can kind of seem like you're closing off a lot of people, and you're not allowing yourself and your marketing to directly speak to them. But when you get clear on who that is, once you create some success and start really building out who your avatar is, you can start adding other segments of the market into your overall client base. But I mean, it's just one of those things where people do business with people like that are like them. So the more that you can be who you are trying to attract, the better you're going to be able to be like, oh, that's me. Get people to actually raise their hand and say, I want to work with you because you are speaking my language and you're saying things that nobody else says. And you have the same beliefs, or you have the same kind of values that I have that no other real estate agent is really showcasing. And so it seems like it's limiting people, but at the end of the day, you're amplifying who you are and who you're able to really speak to, which puts you way ahead of everybody else. And so there is kind of a dangerous spot, because you don't want to get too niche down where it's like you only have 5 people on earth that would actually fit into this mold. But I think the more specific you can get, the more you can be even yourself and have more of your personality showcase in your marketing that really speaks to people in a way that's like, this is different than every other person I've seen out there. Like, I've got to dig into this more and find out who this person is and how they can help.
Right. So if you think about that, if you were to just go on your competitors' websites, as an example, 9 out of 10 of them are probably going to show up as servicing the market and the whole market. We can do this, and we can do this, and we can do this, right? I see that all the time. And then you all of a sudden will come across that one person who specializes in this type of client, this type of transaction, where it's narrowly focused enough that it actually will turn off some of the population, right? There are people who actually are not even looking for that service. And so they'll be kind of pushed away, right? They'll be repelled. But the right type of person is like, this person gets me. They know me, and they know what I want, and they know what I need, and they specialize in this part of the market. I would much rather work with them than a generalist, right?
Yeah.
So you're elevating your status for the perfect people. Now, one other thing I always say to our clients when they're struggling with this idea of coming up with their ideal target market is, it doesn't mean that you have to say no to someone who reaches out to you and they don't fit that exact description. You get to choose that. We're not saying that you'll only ever service exactly that target market you've defined. So if someone else is attracted to you because they are referred to you by someone else, even if they don't meet your criteria of what you've designed for your marketing, doesn't mean you have to say no to them as a client.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's one of those things where, you will actually become more attractive by repelling more people away. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but
So
at the end of
true.
the day, again, when you're doing your research and you're looking around and you find somebody that meets something that nobody else does, like that just makes them unique and makes them more, amplified in terms of who they are and how they can help you. And so it just kind of comes back around to, having the awareness to figure out who that is and not getting too specific where you kind of back yourself into a corner and it's so unique that nobody even knows what you're talking about. But the more you can kind of showcase those things and more put on your specialties and put that on the front end, the more you're going to be able to stand out versus everybody who says we provide all these services like everyone else out there in the market is doing.
Yeah. From a really practical example, if I can share how you helped us really get the kind of clarity we needed on our market for our Win the Quarter program. One of the areas that came up is we wanted to make sure that we were attracting those who wanted a very simple, effective, proven planning process that was also extremely efficient. And we wanted to repel those people who are interested in spending 5 days on their plan and getting into like in-depth spreadsheets and getting very mechanical about it. Like that, those people are not going to want to work with us. We are specifically targeting people who are fast-paced, who are busy, who maybe don't otherwise take the time or make the time to plan naturally because they need a system that's so efficient and so effective that they're actually going to they're going to complete the process, right? So that I think was really key for us in saying, look, if you get that person who wants to go into a whole lot more depth and do their own studies and their extras, if someone like that shows up for the program, it's not like we'll shut them out, but we're very clear that that's not who's going to be interested in the program. It's people who want fast, efficient, effective, practical, not like a lot of theory and spreadsheets and complicated, lots of goals and lots of strategies and, Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, you're figuring out, who it is that you're wanting to work with, but just like take it into account from a referral or even testimonial standpoint. Like the more of your marketing that speaks to, let's say you are a real estate agent who works with first time home buyers, maybe you're a brand new married couple. Like when you have these testimonials out there, you're going to be showcased a lot differently. And then also most of the time people are connected with other people who are just like them. So when you're finding people who are newlyweds, chances are they might be going to some other like either counseling or some other thing where other newlyweds are hanging out. And so they can help spread your message and spread your services because they are people that are connected with your ideal person versus somebody who's generic that, they're not going to really stand out. You aren't, because again, just what you're offering is just like, I'm a real estate agent. But when you say, hey, we actually have a guy, he's a real estate agent and he specializes in first-time home buyers who are newlyweds, how much more compelling is that going to be versus the real estate agent who everybody can find online? So,
absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly like you said, like, yeah, you're not going to turn people away, but it's just one of those things that you have to kind of get clear on who that person is and kind of figuring out what are the other experiences they've had. What have they tried before that didn't work? What have they maybe bought before or invested in? Because, so much of marketing is being aware and just telling people that, the problems that they've experienced with other things that they've tried before that didn't pan out. And so when you're able to kind of showcase that and then show them a different way or something that is unique to you specifically, it's just so much more powerful in your marketing to showcase that versus, hey, I'm different because I have a great track record. Like that's not going to be compelling enough to people wanting to do business with you. So it's kind of figuring out like what they've tried before and addressing that in your marketing and then transitioning to what makes you unique and what you can kind of specialize in, which helps make you unique.
And so if you think about that, I'm sure all of us have experienced this where you find yourself either receiving an email or maybe you see an ad on a social media page and they speak exactly to you. Like, hey, have you ever done this or been in this spot or you've tried this before and it didn't work? And you're like, oh, how did they know? Right? So you feel like there's this immediate connection and truly that's what it is, right? You're building rapport. you are showing people that you understand who they are and what their challenges are, and that you have a solution, and that your solution can really help them. So you're providing this kind of bridge from here's where you are now and here's where you want to go, and I've got some of the answers for you. So if you think about our listeners who are contemplating an online course. You've worked with so many people and launched so many online courses. I didn't even know what a funnel was years ago. And I remember I first heard that. I'm like, well, I know about a sales funnel, but what's this online click funnel? What? But there's a whole lot of technology behind the online marketing space. What do you think what are some of the top things that hold people back from actually getting their message out there, getting their work, their content, their expertise into the marketplace?
Yeah, so definitely a lot of it is the technology aspect and feeling like they have to take that on and learn how to basically set everything up. And then part of that is like they're not sure how to find somebody that knows how to do what they're looking to do. And so it's just the research aspect in that area holds a lot of people back. But I think the biggest thing is just the imposter syndrome of feeling like they either don't know enough or they see somebody else out there who's already talking about a subject that they want to talk about, and that they're not a quote unquote, credible expert enough to the point where they can start charging for what they know how to do or what they can help people with. And so a lot of it is just the inner talk and the limiting belief of they just don't know enough or they're not good enough, or people wouldn't get value from what they're talking about, that they can go find it on Google and all these things. But, I think it's just important to understand, like, even if you're talking about the same thing, like, yes, you want to be unique, but you have experiences that nobody else has. You have values and different things that your market will connect with versus somebody else who's talking about similar topics. And so imposter syndrome is a big one, the technology aspect. And then, I think it's just figuring out what it is that you really want to provide. So this kind of comes from the idea standpoint. Like, I've got some ideas, but I'm not sure how to map it out. So right. Like the whole process of like, here's what you talk about in the free stuff to get people interested to come to the paid stuff. And then once you're in the paid stuff, here's what that looks like. And what I find is that most people know how to deliver the paid content because it's what they do on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes they need a little help with formatting and kind of mapping out the necessary steps to really help people dial in and get the results that they want to offer to people. But it's just kind of figuring out how to map out that entire journey to take people from, I don't know who you are, to, okay, now I know who you are. Now I'm interested in what you have. Now tell me more. And then eventually, into a customer. So there's obviously a lot of steps that go into it, but I think it's really just kind of figuring out how you want to help people and then ultimately just kind of reverse engineering that process. So
you just really helped me see something that I didn't see previously, and I didn't share when I talked about some of the challenges we had in developing our online course. And it's funny because I was fully aware of it at the time, but it didn't show up as one of the things that stopped me. And it was this: I didn't know what that value was that I should be providing or could be providing, that free stuff, you call it, right? Because part of the way to allow people to get to know you is to give value, to either give a free online course or resources or something, right? To let people know who you are, to just be really generous. And that definitely stopped me because I wasn't sure what that was. What is it that we could give that's of such tremendous value, where it's kind of like, when you think about a funnel, it's almost like a deselection process where you've got this whole group of people who want the free. And what you're ultimately looking for from a business perspective is that some people at the very end come out of that funnel and say, I want more, right? Plenty of people will just be happy with the free and they may or may not use the resources, but there's always going to be a group of people who really get to know you and they say, this person can help me, I want more, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that totally stopped me. And I just now realized that it was one of my biggest stumbling blocks in bringing all of this to the world, is that I wasn't sure what that was. What does it look like? And what's going to be valuable? And what you ultimately helped us see is that just give the whole thing away, give your whole process away and give it away for free, because some people are not going to do the whole self-study. They're not going to have the discipline to do it, or they're not going to have the consistency. And even if you give them everything, there are still going to be people there who want to actually do that work with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you'll find even giving away everything, there's always more, because if you are somebody who's investing in yourself and you're obviously going out there, or you're passionate about something, you're constantly learning about it because it's just something that excites you, or it's just something that you enjoy doing, then you're going to be constantly learning new things, and things are going to be changing. And as you work with people, you'll find better ways to help them. And so to me, like the free stuff can never come to an endpoint, even if you share as much as possible. But you really, what separates the paid stuff from the free stuff mostly is the ability to map everything out in a sequential process. So you'll see with the free stuff, you might have a blog post here and a video here and a podcast here, but that requires somebody to kind of figure it out on their own. And if you take that and package it up into a program, let's say, then you're able to kind of give people the step 1, step 2, step 3 process. And that ultimately what they're buying is that shortcut to get to the less desired situation to the desired situation. And so,
yeah, the faster path.
Exactly. So it's just giving people that clarity and helping them dial in that process, as opposed to, let me go do all the research myself. Some pieces might be missing, and I've got questions that are unique to me that, you're not able to provide in the free aspect, but in the paid aspect, you can ultimately help them, field some of those questions and things like that.
And you mentioned the imposter syndrome, and that's a real challenge for a lot of people. And I bet you there are people listening right now who have never heard that terminology before. I've talked about it before on this show. I didn't hear about this syndrome for the first time until like a few years ago, and it totally hit me, like nailed me to a T. So I suffered from that different times throughout my career. But what I'm going to do, rather than going into depth on that right now, because I want to stay focused on the value that you can bring, is if you have not heard of imposter syndrome, please look it up and just read a little bit about it to see if you connect with it. Because if this is something that's in your way, you'll know about it immediately once you look it up and start to understand it in more depth. So thank you for bringing that one up as well.
Yeah.
Adam, I could spend a long time talking with you and having you share as much as you possibly can with our listeners to help them be successful. But if I were to just throw it out to you to say, if there were one tip that you could give, or one strategy that you could share with people to really help them continue to move forward and make progress with delivering their expertise, their service to the world, what would you say to them?
Yeah. So I would say find out where your tribe is hanging out, specifically online. There's things like Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, there's forums, there's blogs, there's a ton of different places that all these people are hanging out. And so my suggestion would be to find out where those are. You probably already plugged into them if you're super passionate about what you're doing. And then just start, building relationships through that, start providing value, start answering questions for people. So people start to see that, hey, you are somebody that can help them in that area. So it's just being able to go out there and help people in that area that will start to create a following for you. And people will start to, start pointing your way in terms of, this is the person that helps me in this. And so doing that will help build your credibility, also eliminate the imposter syndrome, because you are helping people, and it just feels good to do that. So just finding out where your tribe is and just plugging into them and answering questions and having conversations with them. And you'll find that it will go really cool places by just doing those simple things that people want to know more about. Hey, how can I work with you? Do you do this for full time, or do you do this for work? People will naturally ask you, how can I take the next step when you're so helpful in what you're doing and just the areas that you can plug into that the people that you want to work with are hanging out in. And so doing that. And then, I would say the other one quick thing too is, if you're on a Facebook or LinkedIn or any social media platform, or even, just not really plugged in those things, just start creating little videos, short videos that provide value to people. And, that's a great way to start to build your audience and start to build your expertise as well. And also from a business standpoint, if you're getting a question repeatedly and you have something you can record a video on, record that video, as opposed to answering the question 5 different times. And when somebody comes to you and asks you that same question, you're like, hey, I've actually shot a video about this. Boom, you just point them to, YouTube video or something where the video is hosted, And it saves your time from having to answer this question over and over again when you've already answered it once before. So it kind of works as a twofer. But point being, provide some video content. That's a great way to connect with people. Short videos, just answering a question on video will go a long way with helping you in your online kind of real estate aspect and building a following that way when you're also, plugging into a community and helping people out that way.
I love that advice. And I am convinced that there are listeners right now who are saying, video, I'm not doing video. I remember years ago when I was one of those people, I'm like, I am not doing video. So what do you say to people like I used to be who are just really sort of gun shy around shooting video? Or the excuse I used to make is, oh, but I don't have a studio and I don't have the right equipment. And, I came up with every excuse in the book. What's required these days for shooting an effective video?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at celebrities nowadays, like they just go shoot a video on their iPhone. Like it doesn't require studio production or anything like that. And that's really how people connect with other people now. It's one of those things where it's more human to watch a video that was just like a selfie video versus I feel like you are so much, so far ahead of me and you feel like you can't connect with this person because they just are seen in a way where they're kind of like a way, they can't connect with you because just the way you present yourself is like too important and you don't feel approachable. And so simple iPhone or Android phone to record videos and, good lighting is another good one. And so that would be basically the only two things from an equipment standpoint. And then to address the one where people are afraid to get on video, it's one of those things that when you figure out how you want to help people and how you can help people, it becomes less about you and more about them. And so when you put the focus on them and you create content for them, it's not about you. And so the thing you can do is kind of, again, figure out where they're hanging out. A lot of people, like, let's say, for example, Facebook or LinkedIn, like they're afraid to put something out because if maybe got friends or family that, maybe are naysayers or what have you, then just create like a private community for yourself and other people that would find value in what you're talking about and plug those people into that group and start creating content for that group. But, again, at the end of the day, just making yourself be human, like getting on video and saying like, hey guys, I'm shooting this quick video. I'm super nervous. Just going to be honest with you, like point out the elephant in the room and people appreciate it. And they connect with that as well when they realize, hey, it's not a big deal. And it's actually kind of cool because I hate doing videos too. And so you'll find that it actually connects you with the right people by being open, being honest, and just telling them exactly how it's going. And through that process, like you'll get better and people will see this journey that you've gone through and they'll point to it and be like, I remember when you did your first video, it was terrible. And you're able to laugh at it because you're like, yeah, it was terrible. And I was deathly afraid. And so it's just kind of having that vision to see how you want to help people and see where you want to be in the next 6 months to a year. And, at the end of the day, just laughing at yourself and just being human because it's not I'll be honest, it's not an easy thing, but I think if the reason why you're doing it is strong enough, like you'll get over it and you'll start focusing on helping other people and just start doing it. Like it's a muscle that you have to continuously develop and one day at a time. Day one, okay, did it. Day two, day three, day four. And from there, you'll think that you never had a problem. So.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's such valuable advice. If you're not willing to get on video, it's because you're making it too much about you and not about them. And I know I've been guilty about that. I was just worried about how it would look and I'd look stupid and all that other stuff. The same reason I didn't used to want to do any public speaking, right? It's the same kind of stuff, but a different technology. So get connected with your purpose. Get connected with the people who you're out to serve is what I'm hearing you say. And that is going to be what gets you over those obstacles of how it looks. And hey, look, if you ever want inspiration, just go back to that first video that Paul and I shot where only half of his face showed up and we were all smashed together and we just we had no idea what we were doing. And just know that you really can't do much worse than that. So, Adam, I really, really appreciate you being on the show today. Of course, we appreciate everything that you've done in helping us to get the Win the Quarter program up and running. And by the way, for those of you who have not yet signed up to get early notification to have access to the Win the Quarter program, please just go to www.winthequarter.com. And you can sign up there by leaving your email address, and you will be sent an email notification as soon as that first video is released. And you can see what Adam has helped us do everywhere from that initial landing page to the follow-up email to the whole sequence. That the strategy behind all of that, step by step, Adam helped us put together. So if you want to see how he works, that's certainly one way to do it. Another way to do it is reach out to him directly. So Adam, we can put all your contact information in the show notes for folks who want to reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So we will do that. Any parting thoughts as we wrap up?
No, I mean, I think it's just, realize the value that you have, and there are other people that are waiting specifically for your story and your experience. I mean, the way that you've experienced things in your life and in your business are things that nobody else can claim. And so it's one of those things where you take kind of your weaknesses and your downsides and things that you feel people wouldn't want to hear, and use those as your way to connect with other people, because again, only your story will inspire somebody, and what you've had to overcome, and the value that you can provide and experience that you bring to the table is unique to you and only you, and nobody else can claim that. So just to realize that you do have that, and be authentic is really the last thing, because that's what people want to connect with, and that will really separate you versus, trying to be polished and perfect, and just things that we're all humans. Nobody's perfect. So just be yourself and get out there and do it.
Oh, such good words of advice. We appreciate you so much, Adam. Thank you for all that you're doing. And thank you for finally finding your purpose in this world and helping people like us get our messages out, because I promise you, you have helped so many more people than any one expert who you've helped individually, because you're the catalyst that gets that message out there. So I don't know if you can really connect with how valuable that is, but it's huge for us. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you too.
And thank you all for tuning in to the Evolve to Win show. If you liked this episode, and or someone who needs to hear it, please share it. And please subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. Have an awesome day.